What's going on, YouTube? So if you're on the hunt for a luxurious and tough SUV with Japanese sturdiness, you've likely looked at the Lexus GX. And this GX continues into 2025 with additional capability and some updates. So after a week with this GX, is this the reliable Land Rover that you've been looking for? Well, let's go ahead and find out. So to kick things off here, we need to start with our spec dump and talk about what is under the hood. So it's only one engine option right now. It's a 3.4 liter twin turbocharged V6 engine making 349 horsepower. That's of course paired to a full-time four-wheel drive system and a 10-speed automatic transmission. And then our combined fuel economy is 17 mpg.
Now, the base price of the GX this year has risen to $66,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, this is a 7-day real-world review, so we have a lot of impressions to share, as well as things like our real-world fuel economy after living with it, and we'll also be getting things like our sound level reading.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood so that we can get into the exterior as well as the inside. So starting with our exterior design, of course with this next generation GX, they have really doubled down on the rugged design of this model. Now, there's several different trims you can choose from, really regardless though of which one you pick. Even the top most luxurious trim, the Luxury Plus like we have today, they're all gonna look quite rugged. And in terms of what people think about this design, everybody we showed this to over the span of this week really thought it was super handsome. It definitely is a good balance between luxury and ruggedness. Now, of course, in the center, you've got that signature spindle grille, body color section through here. If you get an overtrail trim, which is the most rugged version of the GX, there's going to be some cosmetic differences. There's also going to be some differences in terms of your capabilities. So one new thing for 2025 is that all of your overtrail trims now have a 1-inch lift as compared to the rest of the trim level. So that makes our ground clearance just a little under 10 inches for that model, and that will also be the one that gets real metal skid plates. Now in terms of our lighting, we have standard triple beam LED headlights. As you can see, it's got the premium crystal design with your arrowhead daytime running light, LED turn signal indicator. All but the base trim will also come with the fog lights located right there and cornering lamps. And then as we look at the back, of course, it continues with that distinct boxy design.
Yeah, I think they really nailed the overall look of this vehicle. It looks very tough. And let's talk about some of the individual design elements. We have a spoiler, a very vertical rear glass here, a rear window wiper, full-length LED taillights across the back. I guess that kind of insinuates the fact that we have full LED lighting components, so LED brake light, LED reverse light, and LED amber turn signal indicator. And as we drop down to the lower fascia, very boxy down here as well. And as far as the tow rating, you can tow up to 8,000 pounds with this model. This Luxury Plus model is rated for around 6,900 pounds.
Moving to the wheels, you have a few different selections ranging in size from 18 inches to 22-inch alloys. Of course, the Luxury Plus comes with those 22-inch alloys. We have the multi-spoke contrast design, and I think these look very nice overall. Now you have some body color paneling actually around the wheel arches and a little bit of a contrast color down on the lower part. And then in terms of our mirrors, of course, they've got those very distinct square shape for the 2025 model year. They come standard with all the features as well, including blind spot monitoring, heating, power folding, and auto dimming on the driver's side.
Now at the side of the GX, you have an overall vehicle length of 197 inches, which means this is a pretty good-sized SUV, that's for sure. It's also very tall, so you might want to make sure it fits in your garage because of its overall very boxy shape. We have roof rails up top. We also have the crossbars installed, and then you have blacked-out window surrounds. I do also want to point out, if you want a blacked-out roof, you can get that on the Overtrail versions. Now, when it comes to your safety, Lexus does not mess around. They give you all the active safety features as standard equipment. That will include things like adaptive cruise control. But guys, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the interior, how luxurious it is, and what we've thought about it for the past week. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then, we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from sound level readings to cargo measurements, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now let's check out the interior. First, here's our typical Lexus key fob. Of course, you have a standard smart entry system. You can also remote start via this or the application, and you have an available digital key. Reach behind the handle here to unlock the door. And when you do, we have the power deploying running boards on this loaded example. Now, taking a look inside the interior, definitely kind of continues that boxy theme. And of course, there's going to be some different versions depending on which trim level you choose. So if you get the standard premium trims or the Overtrail trims, those will come with new Luxe leatherette. However, the luxury trims come with the semi-aniline leather you see here today. So this is one of the highest grades of leather. It's very soft and supple. You can see we have a lot of perforation and stitching details running throughout. And we have the color contrast option with the brown and black, but you can get some other colors if you prefer as well. Now the seats themselves are not incredibly adjustable, so they're 12-way power adjusting. You have only 2-way lumbar support, but you have a power thigh extension. What's noteworthy about these seats, well, besides for the fact that they are comfortable, is that the Overtrail Plus, as well as both luxury trims, come with massaging. You turn that on inside of the screen, and it is a very, very good massage. The other thing I want to mention is that memory seats are now standard on all GXs for 2025 model year. Let's go ahead and climb inside. Now, closing up the door on this Luxury Plus trim, let's take a look around at the rest of the cabin materials. So, starting with our door trim, we've got a leatherette that runs through here, as well as this center section, perforated and matching brown leather through there, and then a soft touch plastic for the remaining surfaces of the door trim. As we move to the upper dash, this is all finished in a soft touch plastic with a lot of cushion to it. Down here is going to be a hard touch. You have some silver accenting running through here. Some wood accents you'll notice located in the center panel here, and it is going to be padded along the tunnel. In typical Lexus fashion, everything in here feels absolutely rock solid. Let's fire it up with the standard push button start. With it all fired up, let's dig into some individual details. We'll start with our gauge cluster. As you can see, we have a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster. This is standard on all models, and it is reconfigurable with several different designs. Lexus and Toyota use this in a lot of different products. Up top, we also have a head-up display. Just be aware this is optional on actually every single grade of the GX. It's about $900. Now, as we pull back to the steering wheel, we have kind of the typical Lexus design. It's wrapped in leather. The thing I want to point out is that power adjustment becomes standard on all grades for 2025 model year. We also have standard rain sensing wipers. Heating is on the Premium Plus and above. And then we'll take a look at interior storage next. So when we take a peek inside, you'll see that we have the cool box. So what this is an option where you can actually like stick beverages and things in, press that button there. It will ventilate this and keep things cool. Just don't put any steaks or fish in there, apparently. I guess that was a problem some people had before. Nevertheless, we did not do that. We have donuts inside. And today we have 9 donuts inside of this cool box. Obviously, if you don't get this, you're going to have a little bit more space overall. Up in front of that, this is where your wireless phone charging pad lives. It's a little bit of an awkward shape with this diagonal cut, and I definitely had some trouble with it charging my phone this week. In front of that, you have 2 cup holders, but no additional storage cubbies in terms of this area. You have a little passenger storage shelf, though, for the person that's riding with you. Now, as we pull back to the shifter, just a nice traditional style shifter, feels good in the hand. Bump over here to the left if you want to shift manually, and there are paddle shifters on the steering wheel. Heading into reverse, here's our 360-degree camera system. You have a nice overhead view as well as active trajectory over there on that side. And then this also comes with the transparent view, so as you kind of back up, it gives you that see-through effect. You have more camera options, of course, if you go for the Overtrail, since that has the multi-terrain camera system. Back behind the shifter, you have your four-wheel drive controls, your center locking diff, your electronic parking brake and brake hold, and then you also have some drive mode controls and towing features located right there in front of the shifter. And then that brings us into this main display area. So first thing I'm going to talk about is the climate control options. So you have either 2-zone or 3-zone automatic climate control setups. We have the 3-zone since we have a luxury trim, but if you get over trail, it's 2 zones. This is a easy to use system. Like other Lexus products, they just embed the temperature controls into a physical knob right there on the screen. Heated and ventilated seats are standard actually on all trims as well, and some additional functions can be located right there into the display. Now right below the climate controls, you have a volume knob for the audio system. You either have a 10-speaker system or a 21-speaker Mark Levinson sound system. That's of course what we have. Let's hear it. Yeah, very nice. This is a great sounding sound system. It really fills up this cabin nicely. It has a good balanced sound quality as well, and we've certainly enjoyed it over the last week. Now, as far as the rest of the infotainment system, so the display is 14 inches, and this is just, the typical Toyota and Lexus multimedia interface. We have wireless Apple CarPlay pulled up right now. Of course, you have wireless Android Auto as well. Navigation is built into the system. Here's what that looks like. You can also, as you can see, minimize the climate when you're in certain menus, like the map there, to make it a little bit bigger. It's overall pretty basic and easy to use. One kind of peculiar thing I want to point out is, I mentioned earlier, you have to turn the massage seats on in the screen. Check out how many different buttons I have to push here in order to get this activated. That is a lot of button presses, especially if you're driving. You might have to change the intensity level as well, and now you can choose the different types of massage. So while the massage itself is good, I don't know why they didn't just put a physical button right there on the seat. It would be a lot safer and a lot easier. Up top here, we've got an auto-dimming mirror. We also have the digital camera rear view system with home link remotes. And then let me go ahead and slide back the sunshade here for a special feature here on the Luxury Plus. So only the Luxury Plus gets this panoramic sunroof, and it also comes with the dimming feature. So at the press of a button there, you can make it opaque or transparent, and then you still have the sunshade though, which I think is a nice touch since a lot of rivals take that off, but this does not open. All the other trims come with a small size opening sunroof if that's something you'd prefer instead.
Now let's talk about the rear seat area of the Lexus GX. First and foremost, we'll discuss overall rear space. So as far as legroom is concerned, we're sitting at 36.7 inches of legroom and about 43 inches of headroom. Now, do keep in mind that headroom figure is quoted for the standard size moonroof. So here with the Luxury Plus, where you have the pano, that definitely is intruding a little bit on your overall headroom. So I'd say it's maybe more like 39 or 40 inches of headroom, but overall it's still going to be very spacious here in the rear regardless of whichever model you select. I brought along the official Car Confections ruler, and the reason I do that is so I can get a realistic knee room figure. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8", I'm 5'9", and we're sitting at 7 inches of knee space. That's not bad whatsoever. My feet can also slide up underneath of the seats, and there's a couple things to point out with these seats. So right now we have the optional captain's chairs. That's an option on a lot of the versions of the Lexus GX. That means overall seating capacity is 6 passenger. In this version, you can get up to 7 passenger seating if you choose the bench seat here in the middle. And when you have the captain's chairs, you have cup holders here in the center section, as well as a little storage cubby, and you have a nice armrest along the side. The seats do not slide, though, so that's something to keep in mind. It does not go forward and back. It does recline, though, to add a little bit of extra comfort. Now, over here in the center section, that's where you're going to find your climate controls. We have our own zone of climate on this one. Additionally, a lot of the versions of the Lexus GX, so all the Plus versions and the Luxuries, will get the heated back seats. Ventilated back seats are not available on this model, though. We have 2 USB-C ports as well. There's a little bit of a hump here in the center section. And then let's look over at the door trim. The door trim is going to be nicely done. Lots of soft touch plastic. One of the features that I like is that you have the rear window sunshades to block the sun. And then you have a little bit of wood trim up by the window switch, that Mark Levinson branded speaker. And then you have some door storage down in the bottom. So let's go ahead and get back into the third row. In order to get back here, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is grab this little lever here. That's going to fold the seat down and kind of tilt it up and out of the way. Do keep in mind, of course, if you had a car seat, that is not going to fly, so you would have to remove that. Now, let's go ahead and climb back here. It makes entry into the third row actually pretty easy because the seat does kind of get pretty far out of the way. And let's talk about overall space figure. So we're sitting at about 31 inches of legroom and about 35 inches of headroom. Those are pretty good space figures for a third row in this vehicle segment. As you can see, with this seat adjusted to its fixed position, we have about 4 inches of additional knee room. My feet can partially slide up underneath of the seat, and the thigh support is okay. I would say that the thigh support could definitely be a lot bigger, but of course this is riding on a body-on-frame platform. That's typically what you're going to find here in the third row of that type of vehicle. Now, let's talk about the features. We have 2 cup holders here on the side. We also have this button that allows me to kind of recline my seat back ever so slightly, a USB port, and we also have vents coming out of the ceiling. I additionally want to point out, if you choose an overtrail version, you will not have the third row. So it's just the other versions of the GX that will have a third row. The overtrail will completely delete this third row space. As far as how it ranks on our third row rating scale, I'm going to say this is fit for the in-laws. Walking up to the tailgate, of course, we have a power one, but one of the cool things that is honestly becoming very uncommon nowadays is the fact that you can actually pop the rear glass independently without having to open up the tailgate. I think a lot of buyers really appreciate that feature. And if you want to open up the tailgate, all you have to do is press that button. You do also have kickability as well. Now, let's talk about the third row, or behind third row space. We're sitting at about 10 cubic feet. So as you can see, that is not much room at all. You might be able to fit just a few bags of groceries, but not a lot. If we want to fold those seats down, you can power do that with this button right here. Let me go ahead and make sure I fold those headrests down. And once I fold those seats down, as you can see, it is a little bit fiddly, and you do have to hold the button to power fold the third row of seats. That's going to give us about 40 cubic feet of cargo capacity. And if I fold the second row seats, we're looking at a maximum of 76 cubic feet. So that's with the third row versions of this vehicle. Now, if you buy the Overtrail, you can actually have a maximum capacity of up to 90 cubic feet because you don't have the third row taking up all this space here in the cargo area. So that does give you more overall cargo capacity. And by the way, if you happen to be cross-shopping this Lexus GX with any of its numerous rivals in the luxury midsize segment, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. We've looked at all of the options in this segment and ranked them in the 10 most important categories to this type of buyer. Things like luxury features, overall cargo capacity, powertrain choices, reliability, and safety are all detailed there for you. So if you want to make an informed buying decision, definitely utilize our tool at carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now, there are not buttons to fold the second row, so I will have to go up there and do it in the second row itself. And now that I've done that, as you can see, it does fold pretty much flat with the floor. Let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. As far as overall cargo length behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, about 78 inches is what you're looking at. From behind the second row of seats, we're looking at 42 inches of length. And from behind the third row, not very good, 10 inches of length. So very, very, very narrow. Now let's go ahead and get our width as well. That's 47 inches wide. Height, this is where it's really going to shine. About 33 inches of height, and it gets even taller past that initial lip right there. Now, just be aware the load-in height is going to be pretty high on this vehicle, that's for sure. So you're looking at about, that's one of the highest load-ins I've ever seen, about 36 inches as your load-in height. Now, underneath of the floor, you do have a little bit of extra space, and I do want to talk about a 2025 change. So the Overtrails get quite a bit more equipment for 2025, and one of the useful things for those of you that are actually taking this off-road would be the fact that you have a built-in air compressor here in the rear. So that's a cool feature that they're adding for 2025. You additionally have a household outlet on this side, and then there is a spare tire integrated underneath of the bumper. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Lexus GX. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading, discussing our real-world fuel economy, but we of course need to start with a hard acceleration.
All right, that was 60 miles per hour with the GX 550. So like we were talking about at the spec dump, as of now, this just comes with one powertrain option. It's a 3.4 liter twin turbocharged V6 engine. Power figures are 349 horsepower, 479 pound-feet of torque. So in particular, you really feel that torque figure when you put your foot down.
Yeah. Nearly 500 pound-feet of torque is quite a lot.
Yeah, it definitely feels pretty nice. We're in the Sport Plus mode just to demonstrate kind of your best case scenario with acceleration. So I do want to point out there is certainly some artificial sound coming in, but regardless of that, when you're in the other drive modes, this is a smooth and refined sounding and feeling V6 engine. I don't think that a lot of you guys, if you owned any of the previous generations with the V8, I don't think you're honestly going to miss it. I know that a lot of people like their 8 cylinders, but this does have that same kind of refined nature that the V8 had, but with a lot more power.
Now, for those of you curious, this is the only engine option, although Lexus has confirmed that there will be a hybrid upcoming. We haven't heard any more details about that, so it has been a while, actually, since this vehicle launched. Since they said the hybrid was coming, hopefully we'll hear some details about that in the upcoming model years.
As far as the other elements of the powertrain, we've got a 10-speed automatic transmission. This is a good transmission, despite having a lot of gears. It's not easily confused or anything like that. You put your foot down, you get good downshifts. It can jump multiple gears at once. The only thing I will say is just when you first start up the truck, kind of at a cold start, first couple shifts can be a little jarring and rough, but other than that, it smooths out nicely.
Yeah, and as far as how power is routed to the ground, of course you do have full-time four-wheel drive. This is a Lexus GX after all. All versions will come standard with a center locking diff. You can find the button for that right here in the center area. The over-trail versions will additionally add a rear locking diff. So this is actually a vehicle that is extremely capable. I know a lot of people won't use it for that, especially here in the Luxury Plus trim level, but this is a very off-road capable vehicle. We have previous videos of us going off-road in the Lexus GX if you'd like to check that out as well. But we're just cruising down the highway portion here, and I want to talk about ride quality. Now, living with a vehicle gives you the opportunity to drive it on all types of different roads and surfaces, so we have a good feel for the overall ride quality of the GX. Now, I think there's one thing that really just needs to be stated off right from the bat, is the fact that this vehicle is obviously riding on a body-on-frame platform. This is not a unibody crossover or anything like that, so when you compare it to a Lexus TX, this is definitely going to ride a lot worse. But I think they've done a good job overall of just kind of smoothing things out a little bit to make sure it's comfortable on the day-to-day, regardless of what you're planning on using this vehicle for. The different drive modes do help customize the ride quality. Comfort mode we found to be actually quite a bit softer, so it improves your ride, but you will still feel some truck-like vibrations inside of this cabin. It's not going to be as comfortable on like super long road trips, I would imagine.
Yeah, and this has adaptive dampers as well, so like Mason was saying, when you switch the drive modes, it is able to, customize what type of ride balance you want compared to the performance, as well as steering, handling, stuff like that. Each time, just be aware when you make that adjustment to have like a softer ride, for instance, you get a lot more body roll as well. So this is, certainly not the most agile feeling SUV. It has a kind of a top-heavy feel to it for sure, and if you go heavy on the brakes, you get that nosedive when you're coming in, especially again in the comfort mode, which I think is probably the mode that most people want to drive around the city in.
Yeah, I do also want to point out this is the Luxury Plus with the big 22s on the outside. We found the premium model to actually have a little bit better ride quality with the smaller wheels on the outside. I'd also imagine you'd find the same in the Overtrail versions as well. All right, so let's get our sound level reading going 55. I'll toggle us to fan speed 1. We'll see how quiet this vehicle is. Not bad whatsoever. 53.2 decibels is what we settled in at as our sound level reading in the 2025 GX Luxury Plus. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to other luxury SUVs. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings. And indeed, that's, not going to be the quietest SUV out there. I do want to point out, though, it is on the quieter end. So I think that's very impressive just given the overall shape of this vehicle. It is certainly not aerodynamic. in the least aerodynamic. And then we also have the crossbars installed on this. You can actually kind of see it in the sunroof right there. So that adds a little bit of extra noise. So this is actually a little bit louder than the Premium Plus model that we tested out last year, just because of those things. But really, it's a pretty quiet cabin given all the things that are going against it. Now we need to talk about fuel economy as well, so let's hit that. The EPA numbers are rated at 15, 21, 17 mpg. Goes without saying, that's not fantastic fuel economy. Not really all that much better than the V8 used to be, but it is better. What's our real world fuel economy? Well, at the time of us filming this video, we're sitting at around 14 mpg. That was mostly city driving. However, we do have a couple more days that we'll be driving this vehicle. We had to film it a little bit before we give it back, just due to our travel schedule. We'll go ahead and insert in our official real world fuel economy and how that rates against the EPA numbers once we can get a little bit more mixed driving, a little bit more highway numbers on there. But just kind of know it's not going to be good fuel economy. If we're sitting at 14 right now, I'd say we're probably going to land somewhere close to that, 15, 16 miles per gallon, and it is running on premium fuel, so it's going to cost you a lot at the pump. Now, what's our airball and slam dunk? So our least favorite and favorite element after living with this GX? I'll just go ahead and kick us off with the airball and just say, we were hoping the Luxury Plus would maybe add a few more luxury details inside of this cabin. It's not a bad cabin. That's, definitely not the case, but it's a lot of soft touch plastic, very limited use of wood, and there certainly are a lot of options that you can get for 85 grand that have a lot better of a cabin than this. Like maybe a suede headliner would have been nice, but Lexus, kind of makes the interiors the same on all of them.
Yeah. Now, the slam dunk is kind of all the rest. It's really just the appeal of this SUV. There are definitely reasons that it might not work for your situation with the packaging or the interior or whatever, but everybody likes this thing a lot, including us. We just really enjoy living with it. It just has a presence to it, a desirability to it that really stands out, I think, versus a lot of things that you could be cross-shopping this with, and I think that's why it's proven to be extremely popular since this new generation launched.
Yeah, so do we like it better, the same, or worse? Well, easily better, I think. This is one of those vehicles you hop in and you're like, I just really like this car, even if it doesn't make the most practical sense. Now, what's the pricing? So for 2025, unfortunately, the prices have risen quite a bit. This is a high-demand vehicle, so I'm not too surprised by that. So depending on what trim level you select, it's either going to be up about $1,000 to $2,000. But on the Overtrail model specifically, I guess those were extremely high demand, and they did give you more equipment for 2025. Those are going to be up about $4,000 as compared to the 2024 model. So that's really something to keep in mind. Maybe you could go snag a 2024 on the lot and save a little bit of money. So you can see the full lineup of prices on the screen right now. This particular example is the Luxury Plus. After several of the options that we added on this model, which you can see on the screen right now, $1,450 destination, we're sitting at $85,100 $189 as tested today. Now, this vehicle is assembled in Japan, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use while dealer negotiating. If you'd like to take advantage of that, as well as things like our monthly payment tool, you can find a link to that in our video description, as well as a pinned comment down below. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's discuss resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, we took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Lexus GX's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 53.8% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 28.1%. Now, it's worth noting that is by far the best luxury brand when it comes to resale value percentages. It's actually greater than overall industry average, and that is obviously including mainstream brands. So especially if you compare this to German rivals, you will have a much higher resale value.
Now, the same also applies for reliability as well, where Lexus is the #1 rated reliable luxury brand. Now, of course, we did the same thing with our combined reliability index. That takes into account several studies on reliability and combines them in a way that gives you the most holistic picture.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, our reliability data, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, when it comes to your warranty, you do have a pretty good one. Lexus gives you 4-year 50,000 mile basic warranty, a 6-year 70,000 mile powertrain warranty. You do additionally get 2 complimentary service visits. And guys, that concludes our in-depth 7-day real-world review of the Lexus GX Luxury Plus. If you enjoyed watching this video, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel. We cover a lot of cool cars, and we try and give you our real-world impressions after living with vehicles like this, so you can get a good, informed decision of what it's like to live with. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.